Here you go. Here you go. The way that I've structured this is taking a look at some different songs, one in a minor key and one in a major key, and sharing my ideas on how I would go about reharmonizing these songs. The first one I chose was Shady Grove in the key of D minor. So the regular chords for Shady Grove go like this. Da 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 ba da ba da 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 ba da ba da 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 ba da 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 ba da ba da. Straightforward, right? The reharm that I did, and I'm going to get into the reasons why I chose these chords, but I did da 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 ba da ba da 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 ba da ba da 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 ba da 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 ba da ba da. I hope you can hear the melody and the chords at the same time. That's what I was trying to go for, and that's at measure 17, where I play the chord melody. The idea behind this is finding chords that also have the melody notes in them. So, for example, D minor and B flat are really one note difference. So you got D minor, which has an F, an A, and a D in it, or a D, F, and an A in it. If you're looking at it from 1, 3, 5 perspective of the root position, so 1, 3, 5. If you put on that root position chord, and then you put on a B flat in that same position, there's one note that you're changing. You're changing the A to a B flat. So my thought was, okay, da 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 boo. That's the basic melody for Shady Grove. What if I played ba da da and started that melody out with a B flat chord? That could sound really cool. Instead of playing a D minor, you could also do a G major chord, for applying this concept. That would work. What's another one that would work? E flat major 7th could work because the E flat major 7th. But then you have an E natural in it. So there's going to be some clashing going on, which is not a bad thing necessarily. And we'll get into that in a second because I did put an E flat chord in there. But if you did an E flat major 7th, I mean, I kind of like that. And then the E flat major 7th, if you can't see what I'm doing, I'm getting that E flat on the 1st fret, 4th string, and then 3rd string, 3rd fret, and then my pinky's on the 2nd string, 3rd fret. Not much clashing. I mean, there's an E natural. So if you play that chord all together, it sounds pretty dissonant. But if you kind of go along that, okay, so what is the note that I'm starting on is a D. What other chords have the D in them? And so you can go through and you can say, okay, so D is the 5th of a G chord. D is the 3rd of a B flat chord. D is the sharp 11 of an A flat chord. I mean, it does require some knowledge of theory to do that, but you can do it in a basic way and go through triads. And you can just kind of experiment with shapes. What if you did D major? That's a chord substitution for D minor. And you can get as experimental as you want to as well. Like I did the E flat, E flat in the key of D minor is kind of not, you don't hear that in bluegrass. What if you did an A flat like that? You put the bar on the 1st fret and then you got the D on the 3rd fret, 2nd string. I mean, like, it's really up for interpretation when you're doing reharmonizations of chord progressions. So Using the common tone, which is a kind of the jazzers terminology for finding that note and then finding it in several different chords. Using that common tone is a great way to start. This is taking the concept of a 2-5-1, and this is measure 41 of the tab. You can do a 2-5-1 before a 4 chord in a song. You're changing your perspective, and I've talked about this before. If you've taken other classes, I've definitely talked about this before, but I want to kind of go more in depth in this class. So if you encounter, like if you're in the key of G and there's a C chord and you have time to go to that C chord, if you have like, you know, that 9-pound hammer is a little too heavy. Yeah, that's enough time to move to a C chord. Basically what you're doing is, instead of doing a G chord that whole time before the C, you're going D minor, G7th, C. And the reason that you can do that is because you're creating a new tonal center. Your C is now the home chord, the home key of the song, just briefly. And so if you think from C, if you think backwards from C and you say, okay, so I want to resolve to a C chord. If now C is our world, I want to resolve to a C chord. What's my 5 of C? Okay, it's a G chord, so I need to create a G7th. Now, what's my 5 of D? My 5 of G. It's a D chord, so I need to make a minor 7th to make a 2-5-1. 2-5-1s are traditionally minor, dominant, major. So meaning minor, and then another major chord, usually a 7th chord, and then a major chord. And so that's how briefly in that song that we can get D minor 7th, G7th, C. D minor 7th, which is our 2, G7th, which is our 5, and then C, which is our 1 now. But you have to do this. Like, if you look at this in analysis, you see this usually in parentheses. Like, this is a 2-5-1 in the key of C, but you're actually in the key of G. It's like you're overlaying this in the key of G, but you're thinking in the key of C, if that makes sense. Like, your song is still the big picture. Big picture, your song is still in the key of C of G. Big picture, your song is in the key of G. Little picture, the few measures that we're working in, you're in the key of C, just briefly. All right. So in the context of that, here we go. Here we go. So D minor, 7th, right? So an F chord in D minor. That looks like an F chord, but I'm playing a D in the bass. And then you got G right there, and that leads to C.